Hey guys, we are going to continue with our reading of Lila and Hadley. We are on chapter 7 this week. Remember, tried a little recap. We have Hadley living with her sister Beth, and then we have Lila. They kind of adopted her, gonna foster her as she was in a shelter, and Lila's kind of going blind a little bit. She's having a hard time seeing. And these two decided to go for a walk because it's now Hadley's responsibility to train Lila. So they went for a walk, and then Lila got lost, and Hadley fell and hurt herself, and they made it back home, and then they're with Mrs. What's her name? I'm sure you guys remember her name. I feel like you guys have always better memory than me. The lady that takes care of her. What's her name? Miss something. Miss something. Oh, I don't even know. And then the last chapter 6 was about, it was like a flashback of Lila and her mom when she first started to like go blind a little bit, and when her mom was having to go to jail. All right, so we're on chapter 7. Chapter 7. When Beth gets home that night after my disastrous walk with Lila, I come out of my room to talk to her. She's real surprised by this, I can tell. She don't do a good job hiding it from her voice. "Oh, Hadley," she says, looking up from the pot she's stirring at the stove. "Are you hungry?" "Sorry, it's taking me a bit to get dinner going. It was a long day, and I'm not used to making food for 2 people just yet." "I ain't hungry," I tell her. "I mean, I could eat, but that ain't what I want to talk to you about." "Oh," Beth finishes stirring the pot, then leaves it to simmer before coming out to sit on the teeny table. "Why don't you sit down? What do you need to talk about?" I don't sit. "It ain't a big deal," I tell her real quick. "Don't make it a big deal." "Make what a big deal?" I sigh. "That thing you talked about, that movement training or whatever it's called, to help me get around better because my eyes are getting, you know what I'm talking about." "Orientation and mobility?" she says calmly. "It would help you as your vision gets worse." "What about it?" "Right, that." I catch myself chewing on the inside of my cheek and force myself to quit. Could you get me signed up for that or something? So I could start classes or training or whatever it's called." "Of course," she says. She sounds even more surprised now. "I thought you weren't interested. What made you change your mind?" I shrug. I sure as heck ain't gonna tell her I fell and lost Lila today. She'd get all freaked out and lecture me, probably, or even ask me if I'm okay 100 times. I'm wearing my long pajama pants right now, even though it's hot, so she can't see my scraped knees. Mrs. McGraw, that's the lady's name. Mrs. McGraw probably told her about them, but I don't want to remind her and risk any questions. I don't know, I just figure it's boring around here. Might as well have something to do. She don't believe me. Before she can ask any more questions, though, I say, "Also, can you buy some baby carrots?" "Baby carrots?" I nod. "Not for me. I don't like carrots. But they were in that salad Miss McGraw brought the other day. I gave mine to Lila, and she really liked them. More than she's liked the dog treats you brought from home, or from work." Beth sighs. "Hadley, you're supposed to be training her, not giving her rabbit food. Table food." I know, I wave my hand. "But it ain't table food if the carrots are just for her, and if she likes them so much, it might help me train her. It's worth a try, ain't it?" Well, if she does like them more than the dog treats, then sure, I'll pick some up. She goes to check the pot in the stove before she asks a question. "So, have you thought more about it then? Are you going to try and train her?" I'm chewing on my cheek again. Maybe, yeah, I guess, I shrug. I started looking stuff up on the computer this afternoon. There are a lot of YouTube videos about dog training. Watching those is easier for me than reading a bunch. I haven't even thought of that. She turns off the stove and started opening up cabinets, grabbing dishes and utensils. Videos being easier for you, I mean. It's a good idea. Do you need help finding more? I can do some digging and... I got it, I snap. I don't mean to. I know she ain't doing anything wrong, really, but she's just so eager to help all the time, and it makes me feel kind of bad. Like she don't think I can do anything on my own. Okay, Beth says. And now she sounds irritated, too. Clearly, I'm trying her patience real hard. Dinner will be done in just a second. How about after I can maybe show you a few things that might help? You can do a bit of training with Lila together. Sure, I mutter, I guess. Mom calls right after dinner, and she does as she does every single night. And I do every night. I refuse to talk to her. So Beth spends 15 real awkward minutes talking to her, catching her up on her own life. I wash the dishes, grab Lila, and head into the living room to wait. When my sister is off the phone, she comes to join us, a bag of dog treats in her hand. We'll have to wait on the baby carrots, she says. These will do for now, though. First, make sure she knows you have them. Give Lila a treat so she knows what she'll be working for. I take one of the treats from Beth and offer it to Lila. She sniffs it for a long moment before taking it and nearly swallowed it whole. Careful, I tell her. You're going to choke on one of them if you keep that up. Lila just tilts her head at me like she's expecting more. Good, Beth says. Now she knows what she's working for. Let's start with teaching her to come when you call. That's a pretty simple one. But it sure doesn't seem simple. Every time I try, Beth tells me I'm not doing it right. Lila, come. Lila, come. A little firmer, she says. Not a question. You gotta let her know you're in charge. Lila, come. Not too harsh, she says. You're gonna scare her. Lila, come. Louder. Lila, come. Softer. And through all of this, Lila doesn't get off her butt and come over to me even once. She just stares at Beth and me like she thinks we're ridiculous. Even though I hold out the treat to her, trying to lure her over, she just stares at it like it ain't enough to convince her, and she don't got a clue why I'm not just bringing it over where she's sitting. Eventually, she gets bored with Beth and me. She stands up and walks straight out of the living room, back towards my bed. Ugh! I throw the dog treat in my hand on the ground in frustration. Calm down, Beth says, but she sounds frustrated too. Except I'm guessing her issue ain't with Lila. She picks the treat off the floor before saying, I'll go get Lila and we'll try again. No. What? I don't want to try again. This ain't working. I'm done. Training dogs isn't always easy, she says. It takes time. Especially with stubborn dogs like Lila. You've got to keep working at it. I will. Then, but not with you, I snap. You're just confusing me more. The people in those YouTube videos are way better teachers than you. You're being so rude right now, Beth snaps back. I'm just trying to help, Hadley. I don't want your help. Fine then. She drops the bag of dog treats onto the coffee table. Figure it all out yourself. I will. Whatever, Hadley. She walks away from me, then she sits down on the couch and grabs the remote. I watch her for a second, but she ain't looking at me. I know I ought to apologize. I know I've been rude, even though she's just trying to be patient with me. But the more patient she acted, the more irritated I got. And I just couldn't stop myself from pushing those buttons. It's obvious that living with me right now ain't easy. I've overheard Beth on nights when she thinks I'm asleep talking on the phone with her best friends about how she's having to watch her budget more because she's got an extra person to take care of now, and how she can't go out on any girls' weekend trips because she's got to be here for me. About how she feels like she can't say anything right around me, She said she ain't said anything mean, just that things are hard. I've made things hard, so I know I ought to apologize, but I don't. Instead, I walk out of the living room in a huff and go back to my room. Lila's laying on my bed again. She might be getting too spoiled, being allowed up there, though she ain't tried to get on any of the other furniture. Mostly because she hardly leaves my room unless I'm taking her outside. Or, like tonight, Beth and I make her. I sit down on the mattress next to her. After a second, she lifts her big, boxy head and puts her chin on my knee. With a sigh, I reach down and stroke from the top of her head back down her back, again and again. When I talk to her, it comes out in a whisper. We're gonna keep working on that stuff, you know? Just you and me, but we gotta actually try, okay? She closes her eyes for a second, and I imagine she's trying to pretend she's asleep, like she can't hear me. I'm serious, Lila, but if it makes you feel better, you ain't the only one who's gotta get some training. I get a funny image in my mind then. Some faceless lady introducing herself as my mobility instructor, holding up a leash and a book called How to Train a Blind Girl. I don't think that's quite how it works, though. Pretty sure. The thoughts don't quite make me laugh, but it does make me smile a little. All right, Lila, I say, I'll make you a deal. Might just be my imagination, but I think the dog turns her nose like a little towards me, and her eyes flicker open as I talk. Whether it's real or not, I pretend she's paying attention. I'm gonna actually give this orientation in mobility, or whatever this training thing is. I'm gonna give it a try. But if I do it, you gotta work on your training too, okay? Lila doesn't move. I say, I mean it. If I gotta be trained, so do you. If I can't train you, Beth's gonna take you back to the rescue, and I ain't sure you'll ever get adopted, and they have to send you back to a shelter. I don't even want to think about what might happen to you then, okay? So, do we got a deal? I hold my hand down towards her, like we might shake it out. I don't really expect her to move, of course, so when she does, it surprises me. She doesn't put her paw in my hand or nothing like that. That'd have been way too impressive. But she does lift her head up off my knee, look at my hand, and bump her nose against it. I'm so surprised by it, I do actually laugh this time. I'm pretty sure she was just trying to tell me to pet her again, but that's all right, I'll take it. I grinned down at her. First time I've grinned in a while, I think. Good enough. Looks like we got a deal then, Lila. And that's the end of chapter 7. Alrighty, so I hope you guys all have a fabulous week, and I will see you next time with chapter 8. Hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!